Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We are welcoming back to the show Marguerita Cheng, also known as Rita, who's CEO over at Blue Ocean Global Wealth. Rita, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. So this is fun. I feel like at this point, maybe you've been on the show at least 2-3 times, maybe. So I feel like you're my co-host over here. I'm so happy to reconnect.
Absolutely. It's so much fun.
So we got a lot to talk about today. So we got another book that we're launching together along with Women Connect for Good, which I'm really excited to get into. I also want to talk about, I know you've been doing some speaking lately. I've seen some amazing pictures of you on LinkedIn. So I want to get into some of the speaking you've been doing as well, and just your business overall as we catch up. But before we do that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Rita, at Mission Matters, as you know, we're all about amplifying stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. So that's what we do. Rita, what mission matters to you?
What mission matters to me is helping people become more confident about personal finance. So helping clients gain clarity, confidence, and control over their financial lives.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And for my long-term listeners, they know that I was in finance for quite a bit of time. So this is a subject that's near and dear to my heart. And I especially appreciate and admire the approach that you take to finance and working with your clients. So maybe just to get us started and kicked off it's been at least maybe a year since you've been on the show. So let's get lots of new listeners. We've been very fortunate in the growth. So let's just go into your background and really how you got started in finance. And let's start there.
Well, sure. So I studied East Asian language and literature in finance. And that's very important because my first job in finance was actually in Tokyo, Japan. My job was to write a newsletter for English-speaking investors. So what I had to do is I had to read a lot of accounting and financial statements, read the summaries of the analysts they wrote in Japanese. My spoken Japanese was really not that good, but that's not why I was there. I could read kanji, and I also knew financial statements. And so from that, I was supposed to write summaries in English. I had to write in a clear, concise, and compliant manner. This job paid well. It was a job where I was working in my field, but I didn't feel fulfilled. That's when I learned about personal financial planning. But I said to myself, who in the world is going to take me seriously? I'm in my 20s. How can I be advising people about retirement? So that's when I said, it's time for me to come stateside because I was born here and I earned my business degree. And that's when I decided to help my husband get his financial house in order, pay down credit cards, student loans. We bought a house, 2 kids. And then at the age of 32, I'm like, that's it. I feel like I have street credibility. I'm going to join the financial advice profession. So that's where it all began.
What do you think drew you back to it? Obviously, you're talented. You could have done a lot of things, but when you're getting at that age, I think you said 32, and you're like, you know what? I want to start helping others. Like, what do you think drew you back to it? Like, to be like, okay, like this is it.
Well, I think what drew me back to it is I started to realize that, everybody deserves the opportunity to become financially resilient, right? But there was an issue. We got to remember, this is like the late 90s, early 2000, where the world was different. It was before smartphones. That's a major difference. And sometimes the only way people could get advice was if they turned over their portfolio and got professional money management.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that business model. But if you are in your 20s or 30s and it's your first job, you may not have those minimums or a portfolio to turn over to somebody for professional management. So then what do you do?
Yeah, that's true, and I think access to information, technology, all this has changed things, and I know I take it for granted. When you say that, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." Like, now we couldn't just pull out our smartphone and use it to do all this, like, how quickly things change. So now just kinda going further down the line of the story, so now you enter the industry, you start like, how did that work for you? Like, well, I would talk about maybe your first firm or, like, how did that piece of it work for you?
So, I first worked as an employee advisor at a large
Mhm.
firm, and then I worked as an independent contractor for 11 years at a large firm. So,
Mm,
fast forward from late 99 to early 2000 to
yeah,
2013, I spent 14 years at the same firm.
yeah.
Um, it wasn't bad, but I wanted to do more for the
Mm,
profession.
mhm,
And so I tell people, I'm very goal oriented. I didn't want to just build a practice
yeah,
or serve clients for myself. I truly want to
mm,
improve financial inclusion and financial resilience for all. So I thought, what better way to do this than to be an entrepreneur?
yeah. What was it like going into the side of entrepreneurship? Because when you're working with it, and I ask this not just in finance, but in general, you've been working with a large, company for a long time, the corporate structure. Then you start out as an entrepreneur, and now you're maybe wearing more hats than you did in the past. Like, what was that like making that leap?
Well, sure. It definitely takes a lot of discipline.
Mm.
Like I know some people that are like, Rita, there's no way I could do that. I just don't have focus and discipline. I'm like, you'd be surprised what you can do when you have two small kids, right? And then
Mm,
by then I had my third child. I was like, you just learn to be very organized and
mm,
focused. And even if you have every intent to accomplish everything, that's when agility comes into play. You know what? I have to be agile. I have to adapt. In some ways, the technology at a large firm is very comforting. They do
mm,
everything for you. But sometimes that can hold you back too, because
mm,
you're thinking that someone is always going to take care of it for you. I will tell you, I am the oldest of three girls, and my dad was
mm.
very strict with me. I had to know about personal finance.
Wow.
I had to know about cars, and I had to know about technology. So
That's
sometimes
pretty forward thinking of your father, by the way. Like, that's not, yeah, that's pretty forward thinking.
it is. I joke around. We didn't get to home improvement, but we got those three, which is good. Um, and so, at the large firms, sometimes people be frustrated because they'd have to call the tech support desk.
Mhm.
I had to call the tech support desk too, but a lot of times I figured stuff out on my own. And it
Mm.
sometimes my dad actually would make me mad. I was like, Dad, can you help me with this? And he'd say no. And I was like, why not? He's like, because someday I'm not going to be here and you got to learn how to do it. And he's right,
Oh.
because my dad became really sick with
Mm,
Parkinson's and he wasn't able to help me. So that
mm,
is what you call tough love. He's like, you need to know about tech,
mm,
cars, and personal finance, but
mm.
personal finance first, tech
Yeah.
second, cars last.
I'm guessing that you had your own trifecta for your own kids too, whether they were in that order or otherwise. I don't know, but I'm guessing that love passed its way down. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have our own trifecta too. You're not doing anything until you know X, but absolutely. I mean, there is support and structure
Yeah.
in a corporate environment, but then when you take an entrepreneurial path, it can be really easy to be distracted.
Mm, yeah. How did you stay focused in the beginning? Would you say?
I would say I stayed focused because um, my North Star. Why am I
Mm,
doing this? It didn't matter if I worked in a corporate structure or
hmm,
independent entrepreneurial venture.
hmm,
I wanted to be a financial planner to be able to take concepts to transform
mm,
lives. And
yeah.
sure, there were times when I hit roadblocks, but I just kept going because I would always go back to my why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And what I enjoy most is helping people. So even if someone told me no, or it was just something
Hmm,
horrible that happened, I learned to always go back to my why. The
mm,
other thing that I also found to be very helpful, I am a very serious person, but I don't take
mm,
myself too seriously. And we have to think, I joined the profession June of 99. There were 4 crises that happened in like less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Tech bubble burst, 9/11, Enron, and the global financial crisis. So one time, someone was just trying to size me up at the conference. Like, how
Mm.
long have you been in the business? Why are you here? Are you someone's assistant? And this is what I told this individual. I said, I've actually been in the business 20 years. He's like, really? When did you start? When you were like 8? I said, no, but what you don't understand,
Mm.
there's been 4 crises in 10 years. So I
Yeah.
feel like I get double credit for every year I was in the business. And then I got him to warm up to me and like laugh. So I always tried to make sure I had a good head on my shoulders,
Mhm.
did right by others,
Mhm.
and always went back to my why. Why am I
Yeah.
doing this?
So one of the big themes of this book that we're working on together, along with Women Connect for Good, is really women helping women. And can you maybe speak a little bit about being a woman in the financial field and just representation there? And what I'm hoping is that maybe this inspires others to be attracted as well, because there's just not enough.
No, absolutely. And thank you for that. I
Mhm.
think that sometimes people would say, well, why would you help somebody else
Yeah.
in the profession? Like, aren't they a competitor?
Mhm.
And that is the scarcity mentality.
Mm.
Abundance mentality. There's 2 ways we can go about this. You know what? I had to struggle. Like, I didn't see anybody who looked like me. I had to deal with a lot of
Mhm.
nonsense.
Yeah.
So, the next generation or people who come after me need to deal
Mm.
with that. I don't think that serves anybody well. The other way of dealing
Mm.
with it is like, you know what? Like, I had to deal with this.
Mhm.
It wasn't pleasant. I got through it. Having said that, let's make the journey
Mm.
easier for those who come after us.
Yeah.
And so that's always been um, my mindset. What would I
Mhm.
say to a woman or someone from an underrepresented community who's
Mhm.
considering this? I would say our profession needs you. We
Mm.
need you because personal finance is just that. It's personal, and
Yeah.
everybody's journey is different. Um, if you are really good with people, you
Mhm.
genuinely care, you can't fake empathy. Um,
Mhm.
that's what I would tell people.
What do you find rewarding out of what you do? Like, you've been doing this for a while, and as many times as we've spoken in the past, like, you're always fired up. You're always telling me something amazing about a client or something else you're doing. Like, what gives you fulfillment in this?
I would say what gives me fulfillment is the relationships,
Mm.
helping people, even if it's something more challenging. You know, I met with somebody today. She's an existing client. She went
Mhm.
through a very difficult divorce. And um, just knowing that you're there for people during challenging times
Mhm.
is incredibly rewarding, but also knowing that you're there for clients during life's most beautiful, precious moments. I would say what I enjoy most is the relationships, the conversations.
Yeah.
I also love that we're always learning. Like things
Mhm.
are changing, which is good. You don't get bored. You're not in a rut. You can't tell me, you know what, I hate being a certified financial planner because it's just boring. It's
Yeah.
the same thing every day. That's not the case. So I feel like I'm always learning.
Mm.
Um, we talked about how it's emotionally gratifying.
Yeah.
And then I just think that it has such a positive impact on society. And
Mm.
so that's why I just love the profession.
Yeah. I want to jump around a bit here. So let's get a little bit into the book, and just for everybody watching, just so you know, we're not going to go too far because we will be bringing Rita back on the show when the book is actually live and out there. So you can, of course, grab a copy, of course, for all the listeners. But that being said, like talk high level maybe about some of the concepts and ideas you plan to present in the upcoming book.
Well, I'm really excited about this book. As you know, I've participated in other projects, but why
Mhm.
this one? This is Women Connecting for Good,
Mhm.
the power of connections and collaborations. I'm going to be talking about um, timeless advice that can help everyone in their entrepreneurial
Mm.
journey, not just women, but everyone. So,
Yeah.
confidence, resilience, and the importance of collaborating with others. I want, if there's anything people take away from this
Mhm.
conversation, is there's power in collaborating with others.
Yeah. I agree with that, and that's why when I found out that you were gonna be participating as well, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be," because we have just an amazing, amazing, great group of authors, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, Rita's gonna fit in so well with everyone," and it's just gonna be a great collaboration. And speaking of collaboration, I've been following you on LinkedIn and some other areas, and as we've been catching up, you've been doing a lot of speaking lately. Like I saw some amazing, beautiful pictures of you on there in front of the podium, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Rita's out there just doing amazing things. Maybe talk to us a little bit about like what some of the concepts are you've been speaking, or where you've been speaking, or give me a little bit of the lowdown there. Let's catch up.
Sure. So last week I was in Nashville and I participated in a 90-minute roundtable discussion
Mm,
with three other financial advisors. It's interesting. There's one woman.
mm,
Women do represent 23.1% of the financial advice profession.
yeah.
So I was representing.
Mm,
We were talking about this was at the Insured Retirement Institute conference.
mhm,
Our panel was to talk about, from the lens of financial advisors, what
mhm,
types of clients are interested in certain types of products,
mm,
and what clients are wanting from certain products, and what their vision is for a secure retirement. Does that mean that
yeah.
they just want to retire? And the takeaway here is it depends.
Mm,
Um, it's, once again, it's personal finance. Retire means different things to different people. Some people, when they retire, they retire. Other times it's a
mhm,
time to try new things. So that is what we spoke about last week for
mm,
the panel discussion. This week, this is my signature program. I know
mm,
it can sound a little bit dry, but I talked about ethics. We all
mm,
face ethical dilemmas. I know that we want to do what's in the best interest of our clients,
mhm.
but what if that's not what your client wants?
Yeah.
And so this was a
That does
presentation.
not sound dry to me. That sounds really interesting. I'm sorry.
Well, good. I'm so glad you say that. And during our presentation, we make it interactive.
Yeah.
There's polling questions, there's games, audience
Yeah.
participation. So those are the type of things we talk about. You
Mm,
have a duty of loyalty
yeah.
to your client.
Whenever I go to an industry event, or even when I was in finance, when I go to those type of events and I'm in that surrounding of either my peers or clients, potential clients or otherwise, I always come back with like these new learnings or these new things and these kind of like aha moments or things that are like, oh, I mean, it either surprised me, I wasn't really realizing that was going on in the industry overall, or it affirmed some things that I was already kind of suspected. I'm just curious, just high level on either of the conferences or otherwise, were there any kind of like takeaways or aha moments you had, like as you were kind of in the environment of your peers and otherwise?
Well, absolutely. I think we talked a lot about technology, right?
Mm,
And AI. AI is going to make us more efficient, right?
yeah.
Of course it is. It's technology. However, that doesn't replace conversations. The other thing that's also interesting, as we learned about how we're all on our phones, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to say, for anybody who is in compliance, who is listening, I don't text my clients.
Mm,
Sometimes clients will text me that they're running late, and that's fine. They're saying they're
mm,
running late. But if someone has a question, I'll call them back. A lot of
mm,
people say, oh, well, you should text your clients. You should market to them via texting. What's
mm.
interesting and what I learned is people actually want you to pick up the phone and talk to them.
Yeah.
Um, they want to see you. They love video conferencing. It's true, people might be
Mhm.
zoomed out, um, but they like good old fashioned conversations, whether that's in person, um, virtual, or on the phone. So don't just text people.
Yeah. I agree with that one. I agree with that completely. And I feel like to build that like broader relationship or that deeper relationship over time, I feel like those things add to it, right? Like using all different communication channels as you see appropriate. So that's good stuff. And I think that also goes beyond obviously finance. Like that's in anything. Like I like picking up the phone, and it's people are pretty shocked actually when I do just a random phone call, like, wait a minute, Adam, or what? Especially if you've been texting them for a while. I agree with you completely now that I think about it. Like pick up the phone and you'll be shocked at some of the responses.
No,
So Rita,
absolutely. That, I mean, it even today, like I called this guy that I got his paperwork when I was
mm,
gone. And I called him, and he's actually 38 years old. And I told him, I was
mm,
like, I know that it may be more appropriate for you to respond to people via text. Thank you so much for taking my call. If you're busy, he's like, if I were busy, I wouldn't have taken your call. And thank you so much for calling me. I really appreciate it. So here's the guy who's 38 years old.
yeah. Well, Rita, as always, this has been fun. I look forward to continue to work with you on the book, and also I know we're bringing you back on the show. But that being said, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Blue Ocean Global Wealth?
Well, I would say we talked about the ethics presentation.
Hmm.
I mentioned that I'm really passionate about um, financial education, financial resilience for all. I
Yeah.
would say next is really taking the time with the new tax law changes
Hmm.
to educate business owners and entrepreneurs on how they can save money in taxes,
Hmm.
build wealth for themselves, and retain and reward their employees.
Love it. If somebody wants to follow up and learn more about Blue Ocean Global Wealth, how do they do that?
So they can go to blueoceanglobalwealth.com or find me on LinkedIn. I'm Marguerita Cheng.
Amazing. And for everybody watching and listening to this, just so you know, we'll put all that information in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or listening to an episode, this is a daily show. Each and every day, we're bringing you new episodes, new entrepreneurs, new founders, and new content. So if that sounds interesting, hit that subscribe button because we don't want you to miss any of the upcoming episodes. And Rita, thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you so much.